How's it going, sir? What are we doing? What's your name, and what are we doing?
My name is Frank Chi, and I'm the owner here of Pao Bistro in West Hollywood, and just doing my first interview.
Oh, wonderful. Well, yeah. It's going to be softball questions. There's nothing to be scared of.
All right.
I've seen this location. I've been in West Hollywood for a couple of years. I've always seen this location. It's always busy. How are you guys doing in the pandemic?
Not too bad. You know, it's obviously been challenging in a lot of different aspects aside from just doing business, but obviously things got really bad last year in like March and April. When the stimulus hit, it kind of changed things around, and again when outdoor dining became a thing, it also changed things. So it's kind of, honestly, it's just been up and down, but I think we're one of the luckier restaurants out there in terms of people who are willing to support our restaurant and keep our business going, keep our business up.
Have you had to do anything like innovative? Like I know I see outdoor dining. Have you had to change any of your business policies?
The thing is, we actually have invested a lot into takeout since well before the pandemic. This is something that we pivoted to like 15 years ago. Every one of these companies that's popped up, Grubhub, Postmates, all of them, like we've been with them embracing technology and focusing on takeout and online ordering for a really long time. So it wasn't as hard for us to pivot to a takeout only model, because it's just something that we have been like gearing our business towards for a long time already.
Right. Now I see the outdoor dining. I know the outdoor dining ban has been lifted last week.
Right.
Are you guys going to go back to it, or?
For right now, to be honest, we're not thinking about it. I think when
just gonna hold on for this.
I think it was sometime in June or July of 2020 when they lifted the kind of stay-at-home restrictions, and they had actually allowed dine-in for a few months. So at that time we were kind of anxious to get right back into it, and we got our employees back and we started doing the limited dine-in, and I think within like a few months after that they had stopped doing it. So from that moment we kind of just figured that it was kind of going to be uncertain, like always uncertain, and it's honestly, it's really hard to pivot from one to offering another. I mean, we have to call employees back, we have to hire dishwashers back, and for dine-in and outdoor dining, the biggest point of contact really is between servers and patrons. So it's not something like, we're happy with our service staff. Obviously they've had to stay home, going on unemployment, all of that, but we're not in a position really to force them to do something or to participate in something that makes them uncomfortable.
Right.
So as of for right now, we're gonna see how it plays out. Moving forward, we do have plans to kind of renovate our patio soon, like provide overhead cover and do something that's more permanent. I know a lot of other restaurants are kind of, they're just getting the 10 by 10 canopies and just chaining them all together, and it's tough. It works for a short amount of time, but big picture is we would probably want to invest in something that's more permanent before we and wait for things to kind of become more stable before we.
Right. Did you agree with the restrictions that was put on the first time and then the second time? And there's like a new one because you don't have TVs now.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm in between. It's one of those things where we are able to survive without any sort of dine-in or outdoor dining, but I totally understand everyone else's gripe with it if that's their, especially if they're a small business owner, and this is obviously, all of the restrictions, they hurt mostly small businesses.
Right.
You know, I don't know any small business owner out there who loves Gavin Newsom. You know, those are his main. You know, the main complaints are all coming from small business owners, and it's just one of those things. I would never stand against anybody who had to do something to make do, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of it really was, there was no explanation for a lot of things, so, you know, people have to do what they gotta do. I mean, fortunately for us, you know, we stick by the rules, you know, we're understanding of how things have to be for the greater good, so.
Well, there's some good news. There's like, I think 1.3 on the recall bill, so he might get recalled, Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
But
it's fairly possible, you know. A lot of people are really angry, and deservedly so. You know, I have a lot of friends with nail salons, hair salons, and this is it for them, you know. Landlords are hounding them. If they were, you know, a little bit older, it was hard. They didn't understand how to apply for PPP. They, you know, don't want to go into debt, you know, like they're just old-fashioned. They're just like, I just want to work.
Right.
I just want to work. I just want to have living, you know, like, give us restrictions, but give us a chance.
Right.
Don't, you know, 25%, it's something, you know what I mean? And it's just very unpredictable when they're just like, oh, well, now you're shut down, and the next day you're like, oh, now you're back up and you can go into business, but, you know, people they can't just snap their fingers and open their business the next day, so.
Right. I've talked to a lot of restaurant owners. They're feeling the way you're feeling. What would you say, like, advice-wise, like to thrive and maybe just survive during this time?
You know, I did have other friends who were in the industry, and I mean, when it first happened, I told them, like, just give takeout a chance. You know, it's not ideal, obviously. You know, there's a lot of logistics involved with it, but it doesn't work for everybody. Like, if you're a Korean barbecue, it's different. You know, it's an experience. It's going in. If you have a bar, if you have a great ambiance, these are things that can't be, like, duplicated, you know, but I think the good thing about takeout is it's something that people can learn to make it a part of their business, and post-pandemic, it can still, like, work for them, you know. That's always what we were about, whereas, I mean, we have a full-size dining room, we have a bar, we have everything, but our restaurant, restaurants can only get so full.
Right.
So if you have 30 tables, if 30 people walk in, then that's it. You're as full as you can get. But when you are doing takeout, you're not limited by anything. Especially now, you're not even limited by the number of phones you have, because everything comes in via the internet.
Gotcha.
You know? So it's pivoting to something different. It's definitely not ideal for everybody. But I didn't want people to, like, give up, because that's how it felt for a lot of people. They're just like, what are we gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but luckily, you know, people have found out that they're able to do, like, catering. They're able to do collaborations with people. I've seen a lot of home businesses pop up, and there are so many ideas that people are coming up with now that they'll be able to incorporate, you know, down the line when things get back to normal.
Beautiful. Just get back on your restaurant. What's the best item to get here if we're on Grubhub or just going inside? What's the best item?
You know, gosh, there's a lot, but I would say, like, our house special crispy beef. I never get sick of that.
Nice.
You know, we do other things that are, like, not Chinese. Like, we have this thing called hawker noodles, which is kind of inspired by mee goreng, which is kind of like an Indonesian, Singaporean thing. So I travel quite a bit, and, you know, I don't want to pigeonhole myself as, like, only a Chinese restaurant. So, you know,
you gotta adapt.
Yeah, no, there's believe it or not, there is a hole here in West Hollywood specifically for Asian food. Not everyone is represented entirely. So it's good to have a little bit of, for me, I think it's good to have a little bit of everything.
Beautiful. Where can they hit up? Is there like online, Instagram? What can they hit up?
Yeah, so the funny thing is I'd never done an interview like this before. I just, you know, I guess I'm a little bit older, so I was just kind of like, you know, put my head down, put my nose to the grindstone, and I never really like thought to promote myself or do anything. And it's funny because even though I'm personally on Instagram like all the time, I just never thought to like promote my business. So like I would have never even saw like that you would reach out to us or sent us a DM or anything like that until like recently, where I started getting exposed to like other restaurants, and I was like, oh wow, there's a huge community of like chefs and, you know, other people in the industry. And I just honestly I'd always been, I mean, I've been here for 17 years now, always working by myself. I worked in like a few restaurants before this, and that's been like the limit of my exposure to you know, other people. So that's something that we're kind of like looking forward to doing, and you know, just trying to, I guess, join the greater like restaurant collective.
Right. I think this pandemic is like, I've talked to a lot of people who are like, hey, there's a donut store like this, like down the block. You should know about this. So it's creating a restaurant community that didn't want to communicate for a while.
Yeah,
they were like, hey, you're shut down, I'm shut down.
Honestly, it makes a lot of sense, and it's helpful because then you don't feel so alone.
Right.
Because when you're already working, you're just kind of like, oh, well, it's busy. I've got all these things that I'm working on, so I don't have time. But, you know, when everything is in flux and there's a pandemic and things are changing day or night, a lot of people don't have the answers, and they don't know how to deal with the things that are happening. And the easiest way now is just to be able to, you know, reach out to somebody on Instagram or social media and create a dialogue between like different restaurants and help each other out. Nobody knows everything, you know, especially if you have your own place. I mean, I was very insulated, you know, in our own restaurant, so I don't have all the answers for everything. And when things are tough, you know, the best thing to do is be able to have somebody to talk to, you know.
Beautiful. If people want to hit you up, what's the website, email, or Instagram?
Yeah, you know, PaoBistro.com is our website, and the same on Facebook and Instagram.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Frank.
Yeah, appreciate it.
To get here, if you're on Grubhub or just going inside, what's the best item?
You know, gosh, there's a lot, but I would say like our house special crispy beef. I never get sick of that.
Nice.
You know, we do other things that are like not Chinese. Like we have this thing called hawker noodles, which is kind of inspired by mee goreng, which is kind of like an Indonesian, Singaporean thing. So I travel quite a bit, and you know, I don't want to pigeonhole myself as like only a Chinese restaurant. So, you know,
you gotta adapt.
Yeah, no, there's believe it or not, there is a hole here in West Hollywood specifically for Asian food. Not everyone is represented entirely, so it's good to have a little bit of, for me, I think it's good to have a little bit of everything.
Where can they hit up? Is there like online, Instagram? What can they hit up?
Yeah.